da, 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 da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of Thunder Metal Reviews. I am Tracy Newport, and with me, as always, is the Reverend Ben Lindsay, the Murder's Basement Gabe Cooper, and the Dr. David Pizza. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Done. Get it.
I guess we're speaking in binary now. I just tried to do my rendition of Custer, the beginning of that.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
All right.
I thought it was Morse code.
Help me, SOS. But if you haven't noticed, we are looking at Slipknot's fifth studio album, The Gray Chapter, released on October 21st of 2014. It was released on Roadrunner, and it was recorded at Sunset Sound Studios. It is Greg Fidelman and Slipknot in the producer chair. Runtime was 63 minutes and 57 seconds. We got number 8 at Corey Taylor in lead vocals. Number 7, Mick Thompson at guitars and bass. Number 6, Sean Clown Crahan on percussion and drums and backing vocals. Craig 133 Jones on sampling and keyboards. Jim Root on guitars and bass. Chris Finn on percussion and backing vocals, and Sid Wilson on turntables. And this is the first album with Alessandro Venturella on bass and Jay Weinberg on drums. And this is the first album they recorded following the death of Paul Gray and Joey Jordison leaving the band due to health issues. I think you can tell they're dealing with things on this album. And with those guys leaving, with especially the death of Paul Gray, Corey Taylor has been very open about how much that affected them. And Joey Jordison pretty much left due to a MS that's caused us from doing so many drugs. So, which I think ultimately killed him earlier this year. So yeah, I mean, this is I think in my opinion, the closest to Iowa the band has gotten since that release.
My grade will be the closest to the grade I gave Iowa. Because my least favorite Slipknot albums are Iowa and this one. This one, you know, I've bought every single Slipknot album. I've never regretted doing so, but this one really didn't make an impression on me. Part of it, I was real busy. It was the year my kid was born, but I don't know, it didn't stick with me. And even listening to it now, it's fine. I mean, it's, you know, I like Slipknot. The grades tell you how much I like Slipknot, but this album is just, I can't quite put into words. It's never, I don't know if it's the lineup changes. It's not the sadness. They were fucking sad on Iowa too. They're sad all the time. I'm sad all the time now. Stupid pandemic. And I think I like this album now more than when I first had it, because now I live in a land of epic devastation and desolation. But so maybe it's actually resonated more now than it did in 2014. But I still think it's one of their weakest albums.
So the strength of Slipknot up until this point has been the rhythm section, and the rhythm section is not as good on this album.
Indeed.
Because they lost 2 members.
Correct. And it's not like the guys they replaced them with are bad players. They just, at that point, I don't think had been acclimated to the sound, and you could tell that.
Agreed. Yeah, they haven't quite gelled yet. Yeah, that's what moved them forward. Even if you didn't like other things going on, the percussion was so aggressive and just filled the space, and it's a lot weaker on here. And they get it back. I mean, I think the next album is better than this one.
I agree with you on that statement there. And I think part of it is because there's been there's been noted commentary and like interviews that the band has given that they said they want Slipknot to continue past them. And it's part of the aspects, and we're like Guar and the Mask, that it's going to live on past the original members, and they're just going to keep replacing the lineup as it changes, kind of deal. But this, when he's Jay Weinberg and I can't remember the bassist, Alejandro, whenever he joined, like they didn't even have like specific masks or design masks. They had standard kind of just for them bland masks compared to the rest of the band. And I don't think they ever like I
There's
don't
a
think they fully integrated into the band.
It's because Corey Taylor said that the ideas they had for masks didn't fit the theme of the band, so the band vetoed their masks that they wanted to use.
What did they want to use?
I don't know. He didn't say. He just said it didn't fit the vibe. So I don't know. Like Happy Clowns, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they did
Shirley
check.
Temple.
It or just a Michael Myers mask,
Yeah,
or and that's
they
William
had
Shatner
14
mask.
pieces of flair instead of 13. I don't know. It's just, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, and so I listened to the shit out of this album when it came out, and like David, after like I probably listened to this probably 30, 40 times in a couple of month time period there. Like I was into this album, and then I didn't listen to it for like 2 years, and I came back to it and just did not stick with me. Like it just kind of like I bounced off it pretty hard once I got off of it, and just never could regress into it because.
Dude.
And I think this is probably does end up being one of them. Like you can tell the emotion, everything in there, but it's not memorable. Like you could tell they're working through the death, but it's just not memorable in the sense of like sticking with the audience past the album.
Yeah, none of those songs are as catchy as the stuff on 3 or All Hope Is
That's
Gone.
true.
Right? They just aren't. Even if you didn't like those songs, I know you and Ben really so on them. There's just nothing to hook onto here. And again, I'm having trouble putting my finger on it. I think it's the rhythm section's a little weaker. It's not the sadness. There's tons of that through all these damn albums. They have a lot of reasons to be fucking sad, but it's just not as catchy as those previous 2 albums. Period. Like when I make playlists, I put Slipknot on them. I almost never put anything on this album on playlists. And those songs are terrible. Like when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this, but it just doesn't. It's like you said, Tracy. It just I listened to it some when I first got it, and then I never went back to it.
I think part of that is. Oh, sorry, Gabe. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think one of my problems with this album, other than sort of the poppy stuff, is that the other side of that is, we were talking about Korn like way back when we talked about the scary factor and like the vibe that these new metal bands cultivated to create the sense that they are outsiders of some kind, or that they feel like outsiders and they produce music to kind of match that. There were a handful of tracks on this record that were like trying very hard to sound like they were coming from like a place that was fucked up. And like maybe it was because they were feeling that way, but it just sounded like they were trying to rather than, authentically being that way. At least it came across that way to me. And some of the heaviness is here, probably because of that. That's for me the callback to Iowa. It's a little bit heavier than the last 2 records, but still not very much. I would say they don't capture it.
Yeah, this is probably the try hardest of these try hards albums. So
I wasn't gonna put those words, but thanks.
That's definitely a way to phrase it. And there are some songs I will pull off of here and put on a playlist, but I mean it's thinner than the past 2 albums have been, and probably even Iowa at that. It's just there's no meat to it. Like they've got anger, like it's just not. Yeah, y'all know what I'm saying.
indeed.
Yeah, we seem to be in relative agreement, even if the band may move for all of us. We seem to be all sort of in the same headspace on this.
Yeah.
It's not their strongest, whether you like Slipknot or not, in my opinion. I'm sure there's someone out there who's ride or die on this album, but I'm not that person.
And I was, listening to it. It kind of reminded me. There were songs in this album that reminded me of Five Finger Death Punch. Like kind of like that black metal style.
Remember what I said several recording sessions ago, that there's a direct line between Slipknot and Five Finger Death Punch, and I think this is the missing piece.
This is the fossil that proves it. Is what this is.
Well, I mean,
this album's
the Five Finger
this
Death
album
Punch albums had already been out, so maybe not. Maybe they're just reflecting that. But
it's you got the influence on the influencer.
Right, the circle is now complete. The student had become the master. Yeah, whatever.
It's reverted back on them.
I mean, all time is just, as you know, just either a field or a circle.
Is a circle.
Time's a circle. So for all we know, Five Finger Death Punch guy from 2036 heard this album and then went back and I think it's going to change everything.
Well, shall we talk about songs?
Well, I was going to
Sure.
say, well, I can do it on the songs. I think this album doesn't really start until The Devil and I.
I agree.
And I think for the most part, it does fairly well outside of the one that kills the least into Custer. Outside of that, I think it's very bell curve where the front half and the back half are just not good.
Yeah, I agree that until track 4, it's not even really going. Devil Eye's all right. Skeptic is pretty good. I think Pneumatic is all right. That's a kind of cool song. It's heavier. But then it sort of falls off a little bit. And can you scroll down? Like I can see the bottom what version. Mine had 16 tracks. Whoa, my God, what is happening? Just scroll. Don't.
So you listen to the bonus content.
It didn't help.
Because the album ends on If Rain is what you
Oh, I had 2 more tracks. And I was like, this is just dragging on, man. So it felt really long to me. That's why I was like, I bet this is shorter than what I listened to. Well, those tracks didn't help. -1 is all right. I don't know. I'm just rambling at you right now.
If Rains is what you want, it continues the cycle of them sucking on closing songs.
It just keeps going. But the middle of this album, I agree, is pretty good. From The Devil and I through Nomadic is pretty good. Custer's a weird song. I'm not entirely sure what to do with that, lyrically or otherwise.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that's what I need to do.
And I think I like it so much because of that intro, because it just stuck in my head.
Cut me up.
After the third time hearing it, I was like, all right.
Well, Custer had it coming.
He still does.
Still, always will. What do you think, Gabe? What do you know?
So the tracks that I liked on here that stood out to me were mostly the tracks that were actually heavy again. Sarcastrophe, AOV was pretty cool. Skeptic, and Nomadic was all right too. I even thought that If Rain Is What You Want was pretty cool in the sense that it was kind of a throwback to Iowa, but better, you know? Yeah, I liked Override. It was okay. But yeah, the album for me was too long.
So, Gabe, AOV is the one that reminded me most of Five Finger Death Punch.
What's that?
AOV is the one that reminded me the most of Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was all right.
Are you just trying to admit that you actually love butt metal? You don't want to tell nobody?
Yeah, because I gave Five Finger Death Punch an F.
You're just hiding it. You went so hard against it.
Tracy's trying to trigger me.
I just flat out said, like, hey guys, you know the Biscuit's a thing. Gabe was like, I've had enough butt metal for one lifetime. He's like, don't come to me with that shit right now. I'm like, oh man.
No, I mean, I think that AOV works, whereas like a bunch of the other pop shit on this record just doesn't. It's just not good.
I don't think any of it works. I didn't like any of them.
Yes, everybody drink.
There we go. Been preaching in the truth here.
That was a lot of whiskey. All right.
Great. Ben, you just want to go and put that F in its saddle?
I wasn't going to give it an F. I was going to give it a D.
Okay.
It's passing the class.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that I do feel that the rhythm section is not as strong as it had been on the earlier stuff, the musicianship is still fine. So, I mean, I didn't like any of the tracks, but none of them offended me either. So, change the slide, Tracy. So, I would give Tracy's performance tonight an F so far.
I'm going to sliding, the directing, and the grading. So give me some slack here.
That's true.
I've only got 2 hands.
You are a man of many functions tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't ever want to listen to it again, but if like I was on the car ride and it was on, I wouldn't be like super bummed out either. So
You wouldn't crash the car on purpose.
I wouldn't like open the door and jump out to kill myself.
So that just tells me the next trip we go on, we need to make sure this somehow makes its way into the car ride, David.
He said he wouldn't kill himself, Tracy. That's all that matters. So yeah.
Why tempt fate?
I want to test that theory.
I mean, if we like proceed this with Converge, anything's possible.
That's
Yep.
true.
And
Well, I
Five Finger
guess-
Death Punch on the other end. Anyway, yeah. What do you think, Tracy?
I guess I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna give this a B minus, an 82.
Oh shit! I'm gonna give this an 82 as well. The highest B minus. Yeah, it's not quite a B. It's just in there. But you know, I like it okay because I like Slipknot. B minus, 82.
I think I'm stuck in like B minus C plus territory again with this one.
Mhm.
I don't see this as for folks who don't like Slipknot already.
So
Yeah,
C
it's just
plus?
yeah, I'm gonna give it a C plus.
You're saying you're stuck in a B minus territory. It's like C plus. Then. Only for
Well,
hardcore
I mean,
fans.
like I said, it's like, I mean, it for me, it's basically, you know, in between, and I think you'd have to catch me on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I would say it was like B minus, and then if Thursday, Saturday, it'd probably be a C plus.
And Sunday it's just straight up F.
Sunday, I'd have to take a break. I couldn't be listening to that 7 days a week. Otherwise, I just kill myself probably.
Well, we got one album left in this journey through Slipknot, so I'm sure Ben, Gabe will be happy to be done with it.
I will.
But we are not doing that next. Next, we're doing my pick for November in Chemist's Deceiver.
Man, I love their last album, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too. I've loved every album I heard by them so far.
Yeah, me too.
So hopefully, like, and I'm more interested to hear David's take on these guys. But we'll find out next time.
You're gonna find out, man.
Frozen.
Thunderdome Metal Reviews.